everybody, thanks for tuning in. This is Vino Culture Wine Education Company, and my name is Kira Hill, certified sommelier and total wine nerd. Today we're going to be talking about the difference between Old World and New World wine labels specifically. So how do you tell the difference and how do you decode these European wine labels side by side with their New World counterparts? So firstly, what the hell is the difference between Old World and New World? One, Old World is everything European. So everything from France, Austria, Germany, Spain to Greece, Hungary, Croatia, Switzerland. Everything European is considered Old World because they've been making wine for a whole lot longer than anybody else. The rest of the world learned their winemaking traditions and practices from Europe as they colonized starting in the 1600s. So North and South America, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, all considered New World. So that's the geographic difference. There's a lot of climatic differences as well in terms of Old World being cooler climate, New World generally speaking for their wine growing regions, a little bit warmer climate. Also differences in soil type and everything, but today we're specifically going to be talking about the wine labels and why they are different. So, first wine here. We have a Chardonnay from Burgundy, France. So Burgundy is a region within France, and the tiny region within Burgundy that this specific Chardonnay is from is called Santenay. So nowhere on the wine label do we actually see the word Chardonnay on here, oddly enough, and the largest font, the largest words, the most prominent thing on the label is not the producer, Vincent Girardin, which is an amazing producer of any Burgundy wines, I highly recommend, but it's the region itself, Santenay. So why is it that the region is more important than the producer, the person making it, or the grape itself? This is so often a theme of Old World wine labels. So once you figure out the code, all of a sudden your world opens up and it makes it so much easier to order with confidence these Old World wines, whether you're shopping for it on a retail shelf or ordering it online or buying it at a restaurant. So basically, throughout the Old World, for hundreds of years, each region or each little village or each commune or town focused on either one specific grape, maybe one red, maybe one white, maybe a blend of certain red grapes or white grapes. But across the board, all of their wines were pretty consistent in terms of the style of wines. So Santenay, if it's white, it is 100% Chardonnay. That's the only white grape that they grow there. And if it's red, it's 100% Pinot Noir. It's the only red grape that they grow there. There are a couple of exceptions, but we won't get into that in this video. Tune in next time for those. So if you see a bottle of white wine and it says Santenay, you know you're getting a Chardonnay. And if you see a bottle of red wine and it's from Santenay, then you know you're getting a Pinot Noir. Not only do you know the grape itself, you can also generally predict the style that it's made in, because in order to get that region on your wine label, you have to pass a whole lot more qualifications than just what grape it's grown in and what geographical region it comes from. It has to be made a certain way. It has to fit within this parameter of tasting profile. It has to have a maximum amount of yield, like you can't make a whole lot of each of these wines. There's always limits on that. Minimum alcohol content, which just means you're picking really good grapes and not the terrible ones. And sometimes wines have to even pass a tasting, like a taste test through a panel organized by the government in order to put a specific region on the wine label. So it is not just geography, it is not just the grape itself. There's so much more going on in terms of deciding what style this wine is tasting like. So I know if I'm ordering a Santenay and it's a white wine, I'm not gonna get an oaky, buttery Chardonnay. It's gonna be on the leaner style, a little bit higher acid, a little bit more apple driven, and it's going to be a little bit of white flowers and some pears in there, and it's gonna age really well, but maybe not for 30 years, maybe really age well for like 7 to 10 years. I know all of this just from the wine label. Yes, I study wine a whole lot, But once you learn some of the basic rules, it makes it easier to pick wine from the label alone when it comes to European wine. Conversely, we have an Australian Chardonnay here, and the biggest word, the most prominent word on the label is tole puddle, which is the producer itself. So versus the French producer, pretty small font on the bottom of the label. The region was the most important thing. Here, the producer is the key part on the label. It also specifically says Chardonnay on here. It does include a region, which is Tasmania, Australia, one of the southernmost wine regions in the entire world, island off the southern coast of Australia. But because they don't have specific restrictions on how the wine has to be made or how the wine has to taste, this Chardonnay could taste a variety of different ways based on the producer himself and how they want to express the grape, express the soil, express the region. So a lot more innovation in the New World, which is awesome. A lot of our newer winemaking practices has come from the New World because they weren't restricted by tradition and by rules and regulation. Learned a lot of innovative wine techniques, which is great, but it does make the variability in terms of style and quality a lot higher. So, New World wine sometimes can be clearly labeled by the variety. The producer is usually prominently labeled across the label, and there is a whole lot of variability in terms of the flavor profile of the wine. Old World wine, generally speaking, the region itself that the wine is coming from is the most prominent part on the wine label. The producer is usually on there, but in a smaller way, and sometimes the grape is not listed on there at all. Now, a lot of these things are changing with the way the world is becoming more globalized. So the old world is selling a lot more of their wines to people from all over the world who don't know all of these laws and don't have all of the rules and regulations in their heads. So they don't know Santenay and Chardonnay in this style. So they're becoming more and more I guess, open-minded in the way that they label their wines, and so you will see more and more Old World wines label it by the region and even have some tasting notes on the back for people buying wine that aren't as comfortable with them, which is awesome. You'll also see the opposite happening, where New World wine labels are actually listing the vineyard name first and foremost, and sometimes the grape is not listed on there. And so each region is learning from each other, and we're finding an equilibrium, but there are still geographic, climatic, and label differences between the Old World and New World wines. So don't be afraid if you look at an Italian label, a Spanish label, a French label, and see a big word that you have no idea what it is. Literally just take that word, Google it, and it will usually tell you what grape it is, what style it is, so whether it's sweet or dry or oaky or unoaked or fresh or super fruity or needs to age or is ready to drink now. All of those can generally be discovered from the region itself. So be brave, order some Old World wine. Also be brave and try the Old World wine right beside its New World counterpart just to get a better understanding of the stylistic and taste differences between them too. Speaking of which, the next video will be me opening these two Chardonnays side by side and tasting the differences between them. So tune in for that. Hope to see you again soon, and go out and buy some Old World and New World Chardonnay. Try them side by side. And until then, I will see you next time. Cheers.